Well, if you are to be influenced today by anybody, it will more than likely be our very exceptional guest, Jason Fernandes. He's had quite a history. At 15, he created a web portal before Google ever existed. His website had its own search engine email service and books and movie store. Well, by 24, he'd co-invented and patented the world's first online DVR record TV. MTV interviewed him a couple of decades ago. Let's take a look.
Jason, 17 years old, you're the founder of Zero Cities. What's it all about, man?
It's basically a web portal that offers free web space, free email, chat, a search engine, and free online radio. Basically everything the internet offers in one place.
So how did it all happen, huh? How old were you? You were 12 or 13 when it all began.
Yeah, my first experience with the computer was when I was 12. My mother we brought it in from Singapore. It was basically for my brother, but I started using it, and I got good at it, and eventually Zero Cities was born.
What I want to really know about you is that, okay, now here, what you do sounds like it takes up a lot of your time, right?
Yeah.
How, do you get treated like you're a kid at home after all?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're still the kid?
Yeah, I'm still the kid. Still have to, do my homework, make sure my clothes aren't lying around, the usual.
So nothing's really changed?
Nothing changed, and just like any other normal 17-year-old.
Now, if that was not amazing enough, Jason Fernandes was diagnosed with dyslexia, but he did not allow this to hinder his plans to become a very successful entrepreneur. Let's see in this video where he's praised for his efforts to overcome the issue while helping others along the way.
The prize was awarded to another 15-year-old, Jason Fernandes, for his site Learning Disabled Kids Support in India.
What I believe in is that no challenge is too great for anybody who really wants to achieve something, and especially if they have a friend to share it with. And that's exactly what LD Kids is all about. It's sharing hopes, achievements, coping strategies, and that's something that I'm happy that LD Kids has been able to achieve.
15-year-old Jason Fernandes from Mumbai in India was inspired by his own battle to overcome a learning disability.
My site is the Learning Disabled Kids Support, and it aims to help learning disabled kids tackle their problem and to help them overcome their disability, or at least try to overcome it.
This site is an excellent example of how one young person can use the internet to highlight an issue and provide valuable information to others. With only 11 to choose as winners, the 3 judges would have their work cut out.
Being put squarely on cost, the cost of equipment and the low income of much of the population in relation to that cost. However, where governments have made the investment, there can be some remarkable returns.
Jason Fernandes has received many international awards for his efforts as a serial entrepreneur, as mentioned in the following intro to his TED Talk on smartphone addiction.
Speaker is a gifted youth who triumphed over the 3 Ds: dyslexia, dysgraphia, and ADHD. He still became an award-winning entrepreneur. He is an inventor, a technology columnist, and will today reveal the science behind smartphone addiction and offers also a technological solution. The serial entrepreneur has founded many startups, is part of many projects, including his latest venture, Smart Clock. He won the Startup at Singapore Award, the first national technopreneurship competition in Singapore. He also has to his credit the Best Business Plan Award from Sybase Singapore in the Global Entrepreneurs Challenge at Stanford University, California. Ladies and gentlemen, in the IT circles in Goa, he's known as our very own Tony Stark. Please put your hands together to welcome to the stage Jason the Iron Man Fernandes.
Okay, have y'all ever been just about ready to sleep and you hear that noise? You try to turn it off, you try to ignore it, but then it rings again and you're disturbed. And now you just have to see what it is. And now you're wondering, who is it? Is it important? Now the little light blinks green and you think, well, most of y'all know that the light blinking green means that you got a WhatsApp message, but who is it from? And is it important? So now you wonder, did you know that the average person checks their phone once every 6.5 minutes? So to put that in perspective, that's 150 times a day. It's a wonder how anybody is able to get anything done these days, especially since statistics say it takes up to 23 minutes to get back to what you were doing.
Fernandes has been featured by dozens of international news outlets, including AP and BBC, and praised as a young man who's triumphed over various challenges to become an award-winning entrepreneur, inventor, and crypto expert. He's with us on the line today. Hi, Jason. How are you doing today?
Hi, how's it going?
Now, we've just seen a very brief bio of you. When did you actually begin working with computers, and what is it that appealed to you to talk about them?
So I started around 12 or 13 when I got my first computer, mostly playing games and stuff. But soon I was like reviewing games for Chip Magazine, which at the time was India's largest selling computer magazine. And around that time, I also started designing websites. And I was intrigued with the idea of making my own start page with all the information and features of the web at my fingertips. And so very soon after that, I launched GeoCities.
Fantastic. And I think what's something that's really amazing to our viewers, if we look at the fact that you actually had a search engine, email service, an online book and movie store before Google even existed. Now we are in the blockchain and crypto space now. I would love to get some of your insights on what does that tell us about your involvement in the blockchain and crypto space?
So I think the crypto crash has a lot in common with the dot-com era, all those years ago. So at the time, the conventional wisdom was that search would be dominated by Yahoo or Ask Jeeves. And email was already dominated by Hotmail. And I guess most people felt that there was no chance of any new players even making a dent in the market. And of course, we saw Google totally take over search. Ask Jeeves is shut down. They've also taken over email. And of course, both Yahoo and Hotmail have been acquired by different companies. So if I were to extrapolate that to the crypto era, I'd say, Ripple, for example, has enormous traction in remittances and money transfer, but it's quite possible that the leader in that space hasn't quite even emerged yet. So I think we'll likely see some consolidation and acquisitions and a lot of large companies shutting down, so similar to like Ask Jeeves, before things start settling down in the crypto industry. But I think there's a lot of excitement ahead for crypto enthusiasts.
Really interesting point that you are noticing a correlation between the dot-com era and the blockchain and crypto era that we do see today. Now, a company that you co-founded, Record TV, successfully sued MediaCorp Singapore for $30.5 million. What did that experience tell you about business, about entrepreneurship? Did it teach you any lessons, Jason? Yeah,
so that case was eventually settled, and my brother Carlos was front and center on that issue. It was quite a long battle. I think it took almost 5 years for MediaCorp to decide to settle. And I think the one thing it taught me, and that's inspiring to me, is that in a David versus Goliath fight, sometimes David wins more often than you'd imagine. But oftentimes large companies, so for example, MediaCorp had a $50 billion market cap at the time. Large companies will try and crush smaller companies. And even if you win, as was the case with Record TV, the company is so irreparably damaged in the process that it's hard to come back from that. So I think it's a high stakes battle, and Record TV made the right decision in fighting the case, and we set legal precedent. But when it comes to lawsuits like this, you really have to kind of know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
And you said a phrase there that is large companies will try and crush smaller companies. And I think in this world that people are thriving towards when it comes to blockchain and crypto, which is a decentralized world, do you think that's actually inspired quite a lot of people in this space? And that's the appeal of a decentralized world?
I think, yeah. I think decentralization is basically the democratization of technology. And ultimately it will lead to more and more democratization. We see companies, rather countries, have had a monopoly over the monetary system for so long, and we see how that's happened, how that's worked out for countries like Venezuela and Greece. So I think this is an opportunity for the people to get together and do it better.
And we did see some of your video clips in the introduction to this segment where we saw some of your previous achievements. So we have to note you massively significant innovations like GeoCities or Record TV before these services essentially became mainstream. So how did it help you? Did this help you try and continue fighting to get noticed as the talented technologist that you are? Was it challenging in any way, Jason?
So I think that, it taught me the value of moving fast and also believing in one's mission. I think it also taught me the value of location. So if ZeoCities was launched in Silicon Valley, we probably would have had a better chance of raising money and may have become true competitors to the likes of Google. Still, I think had I kept at it, we might have eventually gained some traction. But with regards to the copyright battle, I think it would have been easy to give up. But essentially, Record TV decided to fight the power, and we ended up coming out victorious. So I think that's inspiring, and that's sort of taught me about how to approach situations going forward.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to hear that. And before you got involved in blockchain and crypto, you were a technology columnist for an international business magazine. Was that one of the gateways that introduced you into crypto and blockchain? And did that inspire you to actually get more into the space?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I ended up writing so many columns on blockchain and cryptocurrency or Bitcoin that I think pretty soon editors were asking me to tone it down and not write so much about that particular topic. A few years before I got into crypto, I had a close mentor in the finance industry who had been enormously successful in taking companies public. And we'd have long discussions on finance. And I remember thinking, in a different world, I could probably see myself doing that as well. And then suddenly ICOs and cryptocurrency came along. And that's sort of the perfect intersection between technology and finance. And so that really excited me. Also, I was a government major at UT Austin. And the democratic ideals of blockchain as a technology really appealed to me. So I think that's sort of why I chose to get involved.
Fantastic. And you mentioned that you've written a lot of articles about the space, and you obviously know a lot of people in the space as well. You're very well connected. What are some of the most amazing things that you believe can be achieved with blockchain technology?
Well, I think really blockchain will slowly change everything and become pretty much ubiquitous, not unlike the internet today. Blockchain has been compared to the internet and people say it's a new internet, and the comparison is not unfounded. I think like the internet, blockchain could well be the backbone that supports almost all future financial transactions. And I think smart contracts in particular are huge innovations because you no longer need a human being there making decisions, deciding whether you get paid or not. And I think the possibilities for blockchain smart contracts are just massive and groundbreaking, and so that's kind of why I've jumped so full in to this field.
And now, Jason, I'm going to ask you, so you may not want to disclose some of this on air, but we would love to get a little bit more of an understanding about anything that you've got in the works. So you've had some amazing achievements like ZeoCities and also like Record TV. Do you have anything equally as innovative in the works at the moment?
Yes. Well, as you know, I recently co-founded a company with Vadim Fedotov, who was on BloxLive before, talking about our company, AE Token. That was when we won the Malta Blockchain Summit pitch competition a few months ago. Our other founder and CTO is Gene Hoffman, who is essentially an original internet pioneer, and at one time was the youngest NASDAQ CEO in history. So Gene founded eMusic in '98, actually the same year that I founded ZeoCities. And I think AE Token has the potential to really disrupt the affiliate marketing industry. And affiliate marketing is not something you hear about a lot, but ads do power the internet and pay for basically what the commonly used websites that we use. So fixing these core problems in the affiliate marketing industry is enormously important, I think. I'm also involved in a German nonprofit called Nico Finance, which is issuing an eco-focused stablecoin. And I think they're doing some really groundbreaking work as well. So.
Fantastic. And from what you're saying there, you definitely make it clear that there is potential in the space, there is need for these use cases in real world scenarios. I would love to ask you where you see the blockchain and crypto space in 5, even 10 years. Do you see it facing some challenges along the way?
So I think blockchain will become ubiquitous within the next 5 or 10 years. The real battleground, I think, is between centralized and decentralized blockchain. So many of the larger companies looking at blockchain today are looking at centralized blockchain, where transactions are basically verified internally rather than in a decentralized manner. And that's not true blockchain. That's not trustless. And I'm not a huge fan of centralized blockchain. But I think this is where the main battleground is going forward, between sort of from a philosophical level, whether centralized blockchain is the way to go or decentralized. I think the people would probably say decentralized, but I think the companies would probably say centralized.
And it's undeniable when we're speaking to you that you've overcome many challenges over the years, and you've also you've had a lot of innovation, you've had a lot of business mentality. What words would you give to young boys and girls that might be watching, inspiring them to keep going when it comes to business, when it comes to innovation as well?
So yeah, so I guess I've had a interesting life, but I wouldn't quite exactly recommend it as a working model for others. But I think for me, the obstacles never really bothered me because I've always been so passionate and single-mindedly focused on whatever I'm pursuing at that particular time. And I think there is something to be said for basically setting a goal and just prodding at it till you get there. So if there's any bit of advice, I'd probably just say that.
Fantastic. And now I'm going to ask you the final question, Jason. So as this industry does change so quickly, you've mentioned some projects you're working on now, but where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years' time?
So like I said, you know, blockchain is revolutionary technology, and I think it has the ability to basically free the world. And I think blockchain will be a democratizing force for good. But I mean, because of the volatility in this industry and how fast-paced it is, and I guess that's what keeps it interesting, I can't say exactly what I'd be doing, but I'd hope what I'd be doing is using this technology and my place in the industry to help develop blockchain as a force for good, and essentially something that would free people as opposed to, sort of consolidate power within a small group of people. I think that blockchain can be democratizing, and I think that's probably what my goal would be in terms of my interaction with this industry.
Fantastic. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us on the line. It's always a pleasure to have you on BloxLive TV. Thank you so much for your insights today. It was an absolute pleasure to catch up once again.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you. That's all for myself and Jason. We would love to hear how you found this special episode of Be Influenced. Please share your thoughts with us on BloxLive with the TV team.